Thank you for that wonderful transition, Stein. Having said that, I have no idea what he's saying. It could have been horrible. I mean, I rip on him every day, so anyway, let's talk about a game. I'm sitting here with David. David, how are you?
Hi, how's it going?
It's going all right, man. I'm super excited to talk about your game. I saw this on the list again, and I knew we had to come check it out. It looks eerie, it looks scary, but it looks kind of beautiful. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so it's LifelessMoon. It's a follow-up to our game Lifeless Planet, which is out now on Xbox One. It's sort of inspired by old classic science fiction stories, Twilight Zone, that sort of thing, where you're on a mission to explore the moon set 60 years ago at the beginning of the space race, but you get there and find some weird strangeness in the spirit again of sort of like classic old school science fiction.
Well, I think science fiction goes hand in hand with like moon exploration because it's such a, well, obviously it's just a dead, empty ball of rock, you know? And so I think that it's cool that you can put this game here and set it as something that's this mystery, you know? There's so much there.
Yeah, a lot of material to, you know, pull from. I mean, I grew up as a kid in the 80s, towards the end of the Cold War, and it was a very intriguing time. I mean, you had these two giant nations that were testing nuclear missiles, basically, but putting humans in it and saying, oh, look, we're exploring space. But there was always that sort of kind of pretense of what was really going on. So it was an intriguing time, but also as just sort of a fan of science and science fiction, there's a lot of material to draw from there.
Totally, totally. And I think, you know, I would be remiss to not call out chat because obviously streaming is such a new medium. Who here remembers the Cold War? Show of hands in chat. No, that's a good point to bring up. And what an awesome idea, like great inspiration for a game. Because obviously the Cold War was such a turbulent time in the world and so much mystery there. To your point, sci-fi. You've seen the military side of it so many times, but to come to the moon and just be this lone astronaut, it's creepy.
Yeah, it is kind of creepy, but it's also exciting, and there's a component of exploration and adventure in the game. The story is all about mystery and kind of unraveling where are we, how is it that we're seeing these things. Yeah. But the game itself is a mix of some light platforming, some puzzle solving. We're also ultimately planning to support VR. We don't have yet news from the Xbox officially on what's going down, but everybody's excited about you know, the mixed media stuff. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's in the works as well.
Very cool.
And that ties into the puzzling elements too. It will be playable though without VR, because I think that's important to support those folks that don't want to play it that way.
Totally, and like I get bad motion sickness, so I can't, as much as I'd like to, so that it's great that you think about
Right. Yeah, and the way we're handling it, partly to help with that, is the exploration will be in third person, which also I think sells the scope and scale, this gigantic, you know, beautiful environments that you get to explore. But then when we come down to the puzzles, we'll go into first person mode. We're not moving, flying around, but we're solving things with our hands and motion controls and stuff like that. Again, that's something I hope we'll ultimately do on all platforms, but it's going to kind of influence and guide our puzzle design as well.
Very cool. So can you give me like without spoiling anything, like can you set up the story for this game? Like your first steps into it, what are you doing, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so it just starts with one of the early original moon missions, and very quickly we find that these guys discovered some things, specifically this, they find themselves back on this town that they are familiar with from back on Earth, and that kind of becomes a platform where they then shoot off and start to explore these other unknown regions. So that was, you know, spoiling too much of the story, that's sort of the setup. And the idea is that this maybe really happened, but if it did, it was too crazy, amazing, weird, and wonderful for them to talk about or discuss. Yeah. Again, in the vein of like the old Twilight Zone stories, that sort of stuff.
Right, that's so cool. And again, it's just like such an eerie setting, you know. I think that's rad. This is pre-alpha, you said, or is this alpha?
Yeah, it's pre-alpha. Again, our first game was Lifeless Planet, a similar setup. It's out now on Xbox One, and sort of, like I say, a similar vibe, similar feel. This game we're excited about because that was our first game. Actually, I was a lone developer Kickstarter about 5 years ago, and now we're 3 whole people, so we've tripled our studio size.
Three people.
It's pretty rocking. Yeah, I don't want to brag, but
That's crazy. So where can they follow you? Is there social media or anything to follow the game?
So the website is LifelessMoon.com, and we're on Facebook, Lifeless Worlds, and you can reach us out through Twitter and all the rest from there.
Sounds good. Well, David, thank you so much. I'm
You
very
good?
excited.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you got it right. Hey, look at that. Look at that. Someone remembered my name. All right. Josh, I have no idea what you're doing next, but back to you.